So this last bit, I'm going to talk about book display and how we might do it better. Okay. I can hear lots of discussions going on, and I'm very frustrated because I didn't know what you were all saying. But there was a good buzz, so I hope you will take ideas back and keep trying them, thinking about them. But I now want to talk about how do we make the book display reader-friendly. So, whenever you leave it, it just goes a little slow to start with. Okay, you know the problem. There are too many books to choose from. Now that's great, we want as much choice as possible, but we have to somehow manage those choices to help people make them. Remember the jam experiment. When there were 3, people bought a lot more than when there were 30. It's difficult to browse in a library because the spine on display hides the covers. That's your classic Swedish library. Okay, I think that one actually probably is Swedish, it's either Swedish or Norwegian. And rows like that. Now in there is magic. Yeah. And some people know there's magic in there, but a lot of people don't. So we have to get the magic out of there to help people to find it. This is an English library. This is an old photograph of one of the first ones that I was involved in changing the design of. And it's just the same, exactly. But what I'm interested in, I'm going to talk a little bit, I've talked a lot about the mind and psychology of reading. There's also the physicality, the physical way we walk in a space, the way we see books and the way we pick them up. So this one, we call this one Browser's Neck. Because this woman, instead of walking upright comfortably, she's turned her head like this, because she's going along reading the spines. And the spines are all the wrong way up, okay? Now, how long can you do that for? Try it. It's not very comfortable, okay? So people will not maintain that pose forever, okay? And as you get lower and lower, it gets harder and harder to do, especially if you're not that fit. So it's no surprise there is a phrase in retail which works well in English. Eye level is buy level. And these 2 shelves are where most things are taken from. Okay. This is another shot of a library in the south of England, and I took it because I needed to know where the windows were because we were redesigning a new layout. But what interests me is again the body language of these people. I just caught it. It's this is the perfect library pose, okay? So let's start with the guy on the left. He's got Browser's Neck. He's doing it. And in order to balance himself a bit more comfortably, he's put his hand on his hip, because that kind of makes it feel a little bit more comfortable, okay? You can tell how long people are going to stay in a space by their feet. If your feet are spread apart a little bit, you're comfortable, you're stable, and you will stay there. If they're not like that, your body weight evenly distributed, it means you're not going to stay, you're moving. Now this guy, he's quite comfortably spread, okay? His feet are spread. So he is going to be there a moment. He's decided to stop, and he's looking. That's great. So we've got his head, we've got his chin, we've probably got his eyes, we've got the bottom half of his body. Where are his hands? One of them, I already said, is on his hip, and the other one, typical male, it's in his pocket, okay? So one hand is here, and one is there. How is he going to take a book? Is he going to knock it off with his head, like that? Is he going to bite it, like that? No. Unless these hands come out, he's not going to take anything, okay? It's the classic library pose. I'm just looking, okay? I'm just looking. And what fascinated me was 1 meter away, different generation, different gender, we have very similar things. So let's check this young girl, okay? The first thing is she's not got Browser's Neck. She hasn't had to do this. She is looking straight ahead at something face forward. And you can see here from her head, she's been caught. The attention's there, it's great. She's not going to stay quite as long. Look at her feet. Her feet are poised to go. She's not actually as stable as this guy. She's going to move any minute, okay? But the really interesting thing is her hands again, okay? Is she reaching out to touch the books? No. She has her hands firmly behind her back. You've not got me yet. I'm just looking. Watch people in your library tomorrow when you're in it. How many do you count like this? Look especially where their hands are, okay? Lots of them, you think they're going to borrow a book, but they don't, because their hands are firmly where they can't get one. So when we came to design furniture, everything about it was to try and make it more touchable, okay? The figures for retail in America, again, I can't give you them for Sweden, 50% of people in a shop go on to buy the first thing they touch. Okay, it's worth thinking about. Of course, you can't buy it without touching it, so there's a logic there. But people are not touching, and then when they touch, whether it's towels or jeans or cosmetics or anything, when they touch it, half of them are going to buy it. So the lesson of that is you've got to make your books touchable. Libraries aren't so good at that. How many of our books look really touchable? Okay, this one is actually Copenhagen Central Library. And I did a workshop there, and they sent me this photograph after the first time I was there to show me this display they'd done, which is a reader-to-reader display. And they wanted me to see how it was working and that they'd got people making comments inside the books and everything, which is great. But I was very interested in this woman who just happened to be on the photograph. This is at the top of the escalators at the first floor, and you turn, she's turned here, there's another escalator there to go further up. So it's a transit position. So you can see her hand is out, but I think it's out because she's swinging, and she's actually going quite fast across here, okay? So if we start with the top, again, the body language is critical. You won't get anybody to pick up a book unless you understand this. Her head, just like the first guy, is turned. You've caught her. She's walking along like this, and you've caught her. If I do it this way around, I'm walking along like this, and I've seen something. You know, eyes right, like the soldiers. It's fantastic. We've caught her there. Wonderful. So her head has turned. Have her shoulders turned? Has she followed through on that movement? Not very much. Have her hips turned? Not at all, okay? Now, again, how long can you walk along somewhere with your head in a different angle from your body? It's actually quite hard. Paco Underhill calls it walking like an Egyptian, you know, like the, and he says that's what lots of stores expect people to do, that you're walking forwards, but your head goes the wrong way. So that's a problem here. We have to get her to turn her whole body, okay? When people are walking in a straight line, making a turn requires commitment. Not that many people will do it. They have to have a reason, okay? So the other thing about this woman is she's walking in a straight line here. She cannot browse this display unless she turns her hips. That's what I'm trying to say. She needs to move her hips. Then she could stop and look at it. But if we look at the speed she's going at, she decides, oh, that's interesting. And at the point where she might stop, where is she? If you know when you do your driving test, in England they always test you on the braking distance to the car in front. If you had to brake now, how long would it take you to stop? Yeah? How long would it take her to stop? She's here. She's gone 3 meters past it. She must have done. And will she turn around to go back? No, she won't. Okay. So you hooked her and you lost her. And we spent the whole afternoon looking at the layout of this space so that we could design it that when a customer approached that display, they'd be at the right angle, at the right speed, and then they will take from it. This is what stores do all the time. They know how to do it. And it's something we can learn for different purposes. We don't want to sell the same as even the bookstore. We don't want just masses of bestsellers. But if you understand the techniques, you can apply them to whatever it is you want to get people to take. You can apply them to opening up reading choices. So the importance of sightlines. People start browsing a display from 5 meters away. a long way away, okay? So you have to angle books so they jump into the sight line. People won't always move their bodies to where you've put the books. You've got to bring the books to where their bodies are, okay? And here's that statistic that I gave you about the 70% full. That's really important. Libraries often have displays part empty, and we think it doesn't matter. In fact, I've had librarians show me ones that are nearly empty as a success because all the books have been borrowed. Isn't that fantastic? And I say, yes, but it's not good now. You must put more in. This, I think, is a Norwegian library, and it's a fairly typical tabletop display where we put one on the end of each bay of books to try and catch people, okay? And all I wanted to point out was that you have to make the same right-angle turn to see each of these. So you're asking people to turn each time. That's why lots of times these displays don't get used. They're just at the wrong angle. If somebody comes at it from over here, that's good, and they might take something. But the person coming in going straight down, it's hard to get it right for them. That's the same kind of thing on the shelf end. I'm sure you've got similar. And again, it's at right angles to the shelf, which, unless the shelves are all facing you in an angled way, is not going to be right in your sightline. Same thing again, this is an entrance to a main library, and this is where they put their display on the tabletop. And I can see that, but actually I would still have to, I'm walking along this way, I've still got to turn to see it properly, okay? And many people won't make that turn. This is a piece of furniture I saw yesterday, which works very well. Instead of it being flat on the end, can you see how the angles made all the difference? And those books, I actually see as I walk past. I'm walking past like this, and I see them. Yeah. It's very, very simple. Just a small turn, okay? But very, very important. This is one of our beautiful tables, which is designed to make all the books touchable and look better with space around them. And even in your libraries that are so big and wonderful, I see them squashed in corners like this. Libraries kind of stuff things into the side. So actually, you can't see this that well when you come in. So what we did was we changed the angle, okay? That's all I've done. The same thing. What a difference. This one looks like it's part of the steps and the seat and the mess, and nobody's going to see it at all. This one, lots more people will see. And even better, when we remove the duplicate poster. We have a nice header frame to put a poster in there, but librarians can't resist putting another one on, because we do like to just put another label on things. So we have another one here. This one spoils the line of the table completely, and it just makes it look messy. So I just take you through the sequence again. That's how it was. That's improvement number 1, and that's improvement number 2. Really simple, but wow, what a difference. So if ever you buy one of our lovely tables, don't put extra things on it. Use the header that's designed and let the book speak. That's Östergötland in Norway, where they actually designed the whole library around opening the book principles. So they came to see some libraries in England, and I was really impressed because they brought the mayor. Not just the head of the libraries, but the mayor came and was interested in what kind of library they were going to have. And again, they've used the quick choice table concept there, and it's really worked. You can see that's the first impression. The doorway's just here. That's the first thing you see when you come in. Worked well. This table is the highest performing unit we've ever designed. The books are nearly spilling out of it. They really are touchable. What happens with library displays, often we're trying to do something on a table. Yes, I'm sure you've all tried this, and it's very hard to get the height. In a bookstore, they just pile multiple copies of the same book, and it looks really smart. We tried that in libraries. It looks terrible, because we don't have 50 copies of the same book, ever. If you've bought 50 copies, which is highly unlikely, but say you've bought, 5, it's because the book's so popular, it's out. So you never have all 5 there together. You'll have 1 if you're lucky. So we need furniture which makes individual book titles look good together, rather than stacks of multiples. The main thing of retail design, whether it's tins of beans or cosmetics or clothes, is always multiple stacks of a similar item. That's what you go and learn to do if you're in retail. It's no help at all in libraries. We have to do it differently because we don't have things to stack in multiples. We'll have 50 different books. That's great. We need to celebrate that. They're not all 50 the same. You know, if you go into bookshops now in England, it's always the same books in the front. It's actually narrowed in choice. And then I come to Sweden, and it's the same damn ones. You know, it's across Europe now. So this widening of the range that libraries can do is very, very significant. But you need furniture which makes it look good. So this table builds in the height. The height is in the table behind it. That brings every cover to the front, and you see a good part of the cover, which makes it very browsable. Okay. Also, as you walk round it, it's still touchable from the side. That's really difficult. The walk round unit is the hardest to design. I tell you, I've tried every which way. If you get 4 faces to it, it gets huge. This acts as like a little picture frame, to frame for the eye, to take your eye into the middle to see the books. And where in a bookstore, this would be a solid cupboard, because they have another 50 copies of the bestseller to lift out, there's no point libraries having a cupboard there. It'll be empty. So, you know, let's have something which is a little bit more floaty in the space. It's just more attractive. Okay, these are some of the alternatives, and I'm not going to name anything, and I have no pictures of here. Okay, so if you do recognise anything, just keep quiet. These could be lots of them from any country. I'm just talking about what we live with and how do we make it better, okay? This is a quick choice section in a Norwegian library, I think. Or is it Swedish? Can you tell? It's Swedish. No, I know where it is. I shan't tell you. Okay. And it was great. They were making a quick choice section. But can you see the effect of such an emptiness? It looks not very attractive. There's just too few books, okay? Now, people may not take from these bottom ones, but if you don't keep them full, 70%, people will start thinking, you know, it's not worth having, the best has gone. This is another classic one. Now, that's trying to get the angle right. So I can see what that's doing. It's trying to work. The problem is it's empty. So it did work, but whose job is it to fill it up? If you worked in a bookstore and you left it like that, you would lose your job. Okay, if you work in a library, nobody gives a toss. Nobody cares. We have to get really fierce about this. That, you know, it's a hangable offence. Somebody needs really telling off for that. That should be full. What a waste. And again, I have a whole series of these. I won't give you them all. But there are empty book stands everywhere in your libraries. What's your routine for topping them up? If you get it in the right place and it's working, keep it full. Oh, that one I went to show you. I thought, yes, here's a full one, great. You know, it's not particularly wonderful, but it's doing the job. Really liked it. And then I went round the back. Oh, sorry, wrong way. There. That's the same unit. Problem is, it's been put in a position where it's got a back and a front, and it only looks good from one side. So that's not good. Yeah? You know, either put it against the wall or design something which is good from both sides. What's the point of a one-sided one like that? It's on wheels, so, you know, it's always going to be mid-floor. The all-round view is another one, the kind of museum case approach. We have a few books in the middle of it, and as you walk around, you can't see them all. I think I gave an example yesterday of somewhere like that. It's very hard to get it right, but we sort of give up and we think, oh, well, that's all right. It isn't all right. You can do better. This one, it's interesting, people keep on trying new things. So here, somebody's decided the basket approach would be kind of informal and friendly and how nice. And I can see that up to a point. The only problem is books are not round. Books are rectangular. So when you put books in this, you're actually bending all their corners and you're actually damaging the books and you're making it look like a jumble sale, we say in English. You know, kind of these are the oldest, dirtiest books. You know, they're just not nice and you've made them worse. And of course, what's happening here is what do we have behind? We have the smart wooden one that's empty. So why the hell didn't we learn to use that one properly instead of putting this one in front? That's so library-ish. Oh, no, this is one. My friends at Eurobib sell our furniture, and I'm delighted. They do know I hate this one. This is a perfect one for architects, and it has no effect for readers whatsoever. It's the one with the lead weight, and you have to lift up the lead weight to get the book off. You know, people give up. They won't bother. It doesn't work. Now, this I have more sympathy with. This is somebody trying hard to get the balance to go up. But look how difficult it is without the right equipment. We do, ask a lot of library staff. And I think probably the most awkward thing there is the poster at the top. I think the display would probably look better without the poster. And that is something to check on a lot of your displays. Would it look better if I took the poster away? And I'm afraid I could take you to a lot of libraries in England where that would be the case. England's worse for cluttering things, much worse than you. I have to say. Now this one, again, this was really nice to see. This is, do you remember when Simone de Beauvoir died? And the next day, the library put this display up, and I thought, that's great. It's current, they're on, really, really good. And they'd managed to get those books upright, so I see them really nicely, okay? But I'm not sure about the paste-up information above. If I'm really interested in Simone de Beauvoir, I'm not sure I'm going to stand and read that. Actually, it's all in the books. The books are saying it better. Why not just persuade somebody to take the book? And if you want the little flower with it, okay, kind of memorial. But I think that would probably have looked better without the paste-up thing behind. And the real problem about it, you see when I pull back a bit further, the position of it is next to the bins and the empty trolleys. So, here's this little shrine to Simone de Beauvoir, but actually, it's not that well placed. It was the only place they'd got. But, if you'd angled it further away from those, that might have been better. Another classic, we call this one Look But Don't Touch. And there are lots of displays like that in libraries. Sometimes they're behind glass, sometimes they're not, but they've been put together so beautifully, nobody will touch it. Or sometimes they're balanced. Have you seen those ones that wobble? And it's like a game of Jenga, and you're worried if you pull one out, everything will fall over and you'll be really embarrassed. So you don't take anything of that, okay? So, look at the book displays. The purpose of the display is not to go, oh, wow, what a display. The purpose of the display is that somebody takes a book. They have to touch it and take it. That's the whole point. Problem of balance again. We're really struggling sometimes to make these tabletop things look good. And sometimes librarians decide, well, going asymmetrical will work. And we have a lot of kind of displays that do this. If in doubt, keep symmetry. Keep it the same size, and it will always look smarter. Okay. Now that one I thought was good. The books are different sizes. It's a face-on shelf. But somebody's made that balance. It really works well as compared with that one. Okay. So this is more furniture, just showing how it works. Now this one, you've got one of these, and you've got it in your children's, the jungle room at the moment, I think. But the books on it were a little too big. You need the bigger one, I think. I was going to say the one thing I wanted more of in the jungle room was the jungle books. You need lots of books with pictures of jungles in and stories in jungles. But this is smaller than the table. If you have left space, we call this a book pod, works really, really well. That's the single-sided one. And if you want to walk around, you need the double-sided one. So buy the furniture for the right space. Don't just plonk the furniture into the space. It's very different to walk around or to look at it in a corner or against a shelf end. This is something we do a lot in windows, where we try and get it. Another thing that people in England are always learning is they learn how to dress a window as if they were doing a shop window. Now, shop windows have a permanent display that looks out that you don't touch. There's no point in that in a library, really. What we want is to see people using the stuff and taking it. So we keep the room for them to go round as well, which is great. That's the wider one. That's being used there for health books, non-fiction. Again, what everybody in libraries wants is what I call the Harry Potter unit, the magic one that will change from being for small books. Ooh, magic, now it'll fit big books. There is no such unit. You have to buy the small one or the big one. And if you start doing that better and teaching staff to put small books on this one and big ones on this one, your whole look improves. That's what stores do better. Libraries have a piece of furniture and a theme for the books, and they just shove them together, whether it fits or not. And that's what I'm trying to change. There's the double-sided one, same. This time with gardening. You can see non-fiction books are harder. They're bigger, more different sizes, but you can make it work. All of those have room for one behind, so when you take one out, there's another one behind. Magazines you have to have different because they'll flop forward, so you need some support for them otherwise. Okay, here's some examples of Norwegian libraries, just very, very basic principles. This one, empty. This one, full. What a difference, okay? We call this one showing your underwear. And you shouldn't ever show any of your underwear, even one shelf. You should always see more book than you do furniture. If the furniture has more presence than the book, it's failed. Its purpose is to get somebody to take the book. But also you can see it's just, you know, it's horrid, isn't it? It's ugly when it's empty. It must be kept full. Here you see the right size books and the wrong size books. And again, suddenly, it just all looks not very nice, okay? This is another one I've seen a lot in Sweden, is overlapping the books. Now, when you do that, you can't see any of them individually. If they're all individually different, we saw one yesterday, I think, in the main library in Linköping, and actually it would be better to separate them out and have, you can see there, 3 steps. Suddenly, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that looks... You can see the whole book. Because we're not selling as a concept, we're selling that book, that book, that book. You need to be able to see them separately. If these were all the same book, no problem. You could do that. Absolutely. Fan them, no problem. But they're not all the same book. So it's like we've learned the technique from the shop that doesn't quite apply to what we're doing. Same here, the top one, they just need spreading a little bit more. This is very spine out, but that I can't quite see. And I think probably this shelf should be the face-on shelf. The second one down, not the top one, would be better. Just to demonstrate, you know, which one are you more likely to take books from? It's very simple. You're more likely to take one when you can see them better. There's the empty pod again. Still got 2 or 3, look, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's got quite a few books on, but it still looks sad. Everybody thinks, oh, the best books have gone. Somebody's had the good ones. You know, it's not true, these are just as good, but it's a perception. Whereas when it's filled up, it looks so much better. Again, I've just picked out some of the ones from, this I think is a military library in Norway. But, you know, they've actually made it work. That one again, you can't see it that well. And can you see how the books are not quite the right size? This one's sticking up into there. All I did was re-merchandise it with the same books, and it looked better. I took a few more off the shelf. These are the skills we need to practice. So the principles, angle displays, try and get books face forward. I'm going to show you some other acrylics that do that, and experiment a little bit. You know, try something like that in more than one place. Where does it go best? If I put these books on it here, does it do well? That's the book of the day unit, which I mentioned this morning, which takes one book face forward with another one behind it, and is just really nice. And there it is. You see what I mean about furniture which looks good with the book in and looks terrible without? You know, that just looks awful. You know, you think it's a bit of the table kind of come undone somewhere. It's just, you know, but if it's full up, it's great. Have I got one with it in? No, I haven't there. We do all sizes of little displays. So this is one that just takes a small number of books. We put this quite often on the desk as an extra, and people take extra books on the way out. You can see there it is on a library counter. Very, very simple. That's an even smaller one. We use that one sometimes between computers. But again, it's got 2 books in the bottom, 2 in the top. Back to my kinder boxes. So these ones are the standard kinder box that you all have. I think the ones you've got in Linköping are nicer than this. They show more of the book cover, and you've got that nice, the little animal detail on it. The problem with this is the child can't see the books. You know, no child is really going to enjoy choosing from that. Parents might, but it's hard for the children. I think it's a bit too high up as well. There's the classic alphabetical order. Let's have it all, you know, I can see a bit more of the covers. How long it takes to put all the books back in alphabetical order, I don't know. But it's organised for adults, I think. Here again, you can't see the book covers, okay? And it's that problem of the angle again. So I'm round the back on one of these and I just don't see anything at all. So when we're coming to children, I think one of the things that's hardest to get right is to get the books and the play area together. And I've seen this in a lot of different countries. England's really bad at it, so I have to confess that. But I think in Scandinavia, it's nearly always a boat, sometimes a castle. In England, we always have trains. But you have this feature for the children to play on, and you've probably had it for years and years and years. But it's the fun bit, and it says to kids, come over here, have fun, be imaginative, be creative, enjoy yourself. And then over the other side, there's some sad bookshelves, all spine on with green dots on. And it says, come over here and be bored to death. And that's a real problem. We have to get, you know, the books are exciting. How do we get that message across, okay? And how do we make choosing for a child, independent choosing, not the parent choosing? It's really, really important. And children experience the world physically, so we do go for a physical experience. That's the one I showed you earlier. That's just the right height. We spend ages checking out the sizes, and we're just every piece of furniture so it fits book sizes better. And I think if anything doesn't work for you because it's UK sizes, let us know, because they can be made differently. We're doing different sizes for America at the moment. That's what it looks like in a nice library space. Oh, that's Vestra Toten again with the reading hideaway. Great that you can get inside, you know, it's fun. This is the tunnel. I think I showed you that one earlier. I didn't mention the inside of the tunnel is lined with mirror. So when the kids get in, they see all these reflections of themselves, and it kind of slows them down. This one is a big tower, and you can get about 7 kids in the bottom, 7 kids in the top. And they're all playthings, but they've got books in. So when you go into the secret space, there are books in it. When you go up to the stairs to the top, there are books in there too. So everywhere you're saying enjoy the reading as well as the play. Oh, this is a new one, pod that we've done for children in a rocket shape, which is fun. And then I want to say a little bit about the things you can put on shelves. I was delighted to see that you had wooden shelves or wood finish shelves in the library yesterday, because one of our problems everywhere in libraries, I don't know why, is metal shelving, which is really hard to merchandise because everything slides. Yeah, I don't know whether you've tried this. We've tried it a lot. And why, in a country of forests, you make your library shelving out of metal, I've never understood. And the Norwegians do too. I think it was part of something futuristic where people were told the book was going to die. Have you ever seen metal bookshelves in a bookshop? Never. They're inflexible. You know, they're much harder to adjust, and everything slips on them. And the wood finish is a much more natural and warm finish for a book, I think. So we've made these lovely things that work, but they don't work as well on metal because they slide. That's a big zigzag, and it just enables you to make books of different sizes look good together. Again, we test it all out. It's got an extra piece on the front to stop them falling off. We use it for music books, for all different sizes. It holds those floppy things upright in a nice display. We use them for picture books. We actually put picture books on shelves. Everybody will tell you can't do it. Yes, you can. And you can make it so that it's the right height for children, really low down, and they can take the books. This one is a little one that turns the whole shelf face forward. They're just all different things for trying to merchandise. And this one is the revolution. If you haven't seen this yet, this is the answer, okay? We call this a feature filler, and it's a simple face-forward book stand that takes one book on front, but the clever thing is the sides, which hold the other books up. So you know when you turn one book face forward in the shelf on one of those little wobbly metal stands, and somebody comes along and takes the books next to it and it all goes, it all falls over? We avoid that. So what you tend to see in libraries, otherwise face forward in a shelf, is one book by itself at the end. So we have all of these tidied with the shelf stop. Don't touch, look but don't touch. And then we have the single book here, and we have quite a big gap between them, so sometimes it doesn't look that full. This enables you to keep shelves full all the time. It's a really neat little piece of furniture, and it is transforming the look of libraries. You're going to Redbridge, aren't you? They are using them as well as anybody in England, so I hope when you go it's a good day. I actually told them they were the best merchandised library I'd ever seen, because we say do it near the entrance first, and if you have time, further back, and they've got it right the way through the library. This is the problem if you don't have this kind of thing on the shelf. Now, if you're a regular library user, that doesn't bother you at all. If you're not, that's a shock. When did you go into a store, a shop, and see shelves that empty? I tell you, the only time, when they're closing down. Okay, it's the closing down sale. I take people into libraries who've never been before and I say, what do you think? And they say, looking at something like that, well, I knew it was hard, but, I didn't think it was this bad. They have no idea of the number of books you really have and what's being bought regularly. They just look at that and they think you're going bust. Okay? It looks so different filled up. Now, it's much harder to manage library shelves than it is bookstore shelves because the number of books you have at any one time fluctuates. So that's why we designed this little piece of plastic. I can move it around. When the shelf is full, I just take it out, put it on another one. When the shelf is empty, I might have 2 or 3. It really, really works. And it avoids that empty shelf look. I think I showed 1 or 2 of these earlier on, the little graphics we put in. Now there's some older shelving. These feature fillers will work on metal, not as well as on wood, but they don't skeeter as much as the zigzag does. This is a school library with quite old-fashioned books, but we've turned 4 of them face forward, and suddenly, not only does that look good, but the children can tell what that subject is from a mile off. They're not stupid. They can see its history. You can really use the books to help people find things. Turning a book face on really helps. That's a magazine one. We often have the magazines all in one place and the books all in another, but there's no one person who reads all the magazines. You don't like car magazines and cookery, usually. So we've actually found a way to get the magazines with the books. So the cookery can sit with the cookery books as well. Works nicely. There you can see in a typical children's bookshelf, zigzag, zigzag, feature filler, feature filler. And we're teaching library staff how to dress the shelves like that all the time during the day. It has a dramatic effect on how much is borrowed. This is actually the same bookcase. It has home crafts in it, yeah? And here we picked 4 books that are sewing, and here we've picked 5 books that are gardening. It's the same shelf. If you start doing this, people will say to you, oh, you've got so many lovely new books. And you haven't got any new books at all. It's just you're showing the ones you've got better. Works a treat. So displays that work for customers, you need to choose a good location. Think about where it is and don't squash it in a corner. Keep it topped up. Don't let it go empty. Sometimes people end up with too many displays. If you've got too many for the staff to keep looking full, reduce it. Have fewer good ones. That's better than having 10 bad ones. Okay? True of most things in life. So do one good display, not 3 poor ones. And use your best spaces, like on your main desk, your reception desk, for some of your own product. Libraries are so nice to everybody else. They always give their best space to other people. Oh, come in, you can put your literature there. Whether it's a community group, whether it's another council department, we always give, quite often you go into a library, the display will be about the council, yeah? Actually, not that many people are interested in the council. A lot more people are interested in books. Okay, so you have to get your core offer. Somebody was saying they were going to redesign their library and make the books more visible. I think that's really important. You know, just take that space, use it. I'm just going to say a little bit about the online training that we run, which is currently all in English, but part of this project may be to make a small part in Swedish. If you want to check it out, because this is how we teach now, because a lot of people can't afford to bring enough staff together as you have today, so we teach a lot of it online. 10,000 library staff have taken one of our courses. They do things online, and then they go and do them in the library. It's really fun. If you go to our website, you can try a free trial. Interactive is a course for librarians. It's a little bit more challenging, more strategic, more stretching, and we've got people doing it in several different countries. So the discussion boards are fascinating, really interesting to talk to other librarians about how they're dealing with these things. All you need is an internet access and an email address. You can do it whenever you want. That really helps, I think. The kind of exercises we do, I can't show this live, but you can see what I mean. Here's a book pod on screen, and this is a collection of books, and it moves. And you lift the books with your mouse, and you dress the book pod. You choose books to go on there, and you line 3 of them up. And then you choose, and you can move them around, and you try different things. When you're happy with it, you save it, and then you have a discussion with your mentor about what you've done and why. So at the moment, this is all with English books. You can still learn a lot from that. But ideally, I'd like to use the same software with something where you can upload Swedish books to have a play with the same way. It's a lot of fun. This is one similarly in a non-fiction section, and this is turning books face forward as if you had feature fillers. And this moves all along the top. And it's actually history, war, and politics, and we show how to dress it differently each time. There are some books you shouldn't choose, and then there's a discussion on why. So there's lots of, you know, it's very, very practical. And then you go and do it in the library, which is great. So what can you do? I think you need always to respect readers, to open up reading choices, to offer ways to share reading experiences, and to celebrate reading as a creative activity. That's like the manifesto for this kind of work. And I think, going back to where I started this morning, how a reader-centered approach can help. Financially, it makes your collection work harder. It will get more performance out of each book. If you can't afford enough new books, it will help you to move the old ones. That's very good value all round. Politically, I think it helps you to prove the value of reading in creativity, in health and well-being. Some people from here are going to look at bibliotherapy in England. I think borrowing library books saves the hospitals millions. I actually knew a GP, a doctor in Birmingham, who used to prescribe library tickets instead of sleeping pills or depression. See if you can't find yourself a book to get you through the night. It's free. Lifelong learning, libraries are the place where people can learn things for themselves. And every time they do it, they learn not just the thing they've come to learn, but they learn that they can learn. That's a very empowering experience. And culturally, I think we need to claim a different role from bookstores. We can learn lots from bookstores, but be careful about becoming too like a bookstore. Because at that point, the politicians will say, why do we need a library then? The library is something different. I think it has a wider range of titles, and it has more inventive ways to engage audiences. And it has a wider range of people that it reaches too. So in all those ways, I think that can help. Thank you very much indeed.